What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the next installment of All Things Hoops TV. This week, man. This week we got a doozy. This week, man. We got tonight we got Ramel, Rock, Lloyd. Wednesday we got my guy Rich Parker. Friday we got Tim Headache Gittins. So definitely stick with us this week. We bringing it this week, man. Legends talk, hashtag that Legends talk, man. But tonight he's talking about the connection. Hope it don't give me a problem. We outside today, kind of.
Man,
Yo,
what's good, family?
what's up, my boy? How you, man?
All good, all good.
What's up? What you said? What you said?
I said, how's everything going with you?
Oh, everything great, man. Everything great on my end, man. Thanks for setting aside some time for me. I appreciate you, coming to speak with me and letting your story be heard.
Appreciate
First and foremost, I'd like to shout out my sponsor for this platform, Soul Pack. Soul Pack is a bag company. They sell and manufacture their like a specific bag that you can actually put your sneakers in. So it's a rather innovative type of situation. Definitely go check out Soul Pack or at Soul Pack, and definitely follow All Things Hoops for your chance to win some of these giveaways. But Ramel, Rock, Lloyd, it's a pleasure to have you. You know what I'm saying? You one of the when we talk about this golden age, this golden era of basketball, when we talk about this, this time when there was straight killers out there, your name was definitely one of the names, at the top of the food chain, if you will. So definitely thank you, for coming aboard. You were class of '96, right?
Yeah, class of '96, yes, sir.
All right, so definitely a lot of people may know you from Cardinal Hayes. A lot of my following is from the New York City area, and the surrounding area, around New York City. But you also did Syracuse for a little bit, as well as Long Beach State, out in California. But we're gonna get right into it, man, if you don't mind.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, bet. So Rock, man, tell me exactly, like, in terms of your nickname, Rock. Where did you get that from?
My nickname actually just came from my mom's. Actually, when I was born, I was a big baby. I was 10 pounds, so she just started calling me, Rock from there. Kind of stuck with me, you know what I mean? And then it changed into like a basketball thing. But it actually came from the beginning, though.
So that came from the very beginning, huh?
Yeah. It started off as Rocky with a Y on the end of it, and as I got a little, just got the Y off, and they just start calling me Rock.
Yeah. It sound a lot more aggressive with the
yeah, a little bit
Rock.
better than that. But that Rocky came from the Rocky movies and stuff, I think. So,
right.
We had to chop that off though. When we got a little older, so I just saying Rock.
Right. So like I was saying, in terms of you came from that era of golden, the golden era of basketball. Exactly, how did it feel to be at the top of the food chain, competing with the guys that you were competing against, in that Catholic League at that specific time?
Yeah, what's crazy, like, I mean, I don't think at the time when you're young and you're in high school and you're playing and you're competing, I don't think you really even realize, what you're a part of. You know what I'm saying? Like how good the talent was in the city. You just kind of was playing, man. It was just like what we did. You don't realize things till you get a little older and you move on and you see all the great accomplishments that, you know, your peers had through over time, and you look back and you was like, and you say, damn, you don't realize how great it was. You know, for me, when you're younger, you're trying to establish yourself. You know, you're just working on establishing and trying to be the best. You know, I was just driven so much about trying to be the best because, you know, the people I was playing against was so nice. You know, and like if you had any kind of weakness, like that was your ass, basically. You know what I mean? So I'm not even trying to think about what the next man doing, whatever. I'm just trying to go at them, and so you don't really see during the time so much how great your competitors are, you know, and the guys you grow up with. But then when you get a little older and you look back, and I start naming, I can't even start naming names because I don't want to leave nobody out because it's countless names.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's special for me for people to even, you know, consider me, you know, a big part of that era, you know, just because there was so much special talent there. You know, you really appreciate those kind of statements and things as you get a little older.
Right. Definitely. When you're going through it, you know, like you said, you're just trying to establish yourself and your own credible name. And you don't really take a moment to look around and, you know, absorb everything that's going on.
Absolutely.
But in terms of your skill set, right? You were like you about 6'4" at the time. Well, I'm not sure if you grew any since then, but at the time you were about 6'4", 6'3", 6'4", and you were a rather stocky or rather heavy dude, but more on the strong side than anything else. You know, with that said, is there anybody that you know, when you were coming up, did you try to emulate anybody's game? Did you look at anybody specific, you know, whether it be, you know, on the big screen on the NBA level or in the hood somewhere? Like, did you try to emulate anybody's game?
You know, I was a real student of the game. You know, I wasn't blessed with the greatest of basketball bodies, if you would say. I wasn't blessed. I thought when I at a young age with the talent that a lot of guys had young. You know, I played football and baseball when I was younger, so I always felt like I was catching up. You know what I'm saying? So as I got older and I started developing the love for basketball, you know, I was behind. You know, I started off as a power forward, center. You know, I would just rebound in layups, you know what I'm saying? And then as I got a little older, I started to watch and emulate some different people, you know, from NBA time, NBA and high school guys. Like the guys that were a little bit older than me, that I kind of looked up to, just two guards in general. You know, I used to go watch Charlie Jones. You know, I used to watch Felipe. You know, Tyler. What's Tyler's last name? You know, Tyler from St. Ray. Reggie Freeman. I had Charlton Clark, who's a year ahead of me, but you know, these guys were a little older. G. Saunders. You know, I could go down the list.
Shout out to all of those.
Shout out to all of those dudes. Those are my boys. That, you know, they kind of like some of them was a year older than me, some of them 2 or 3 years ahead of me. But I would just always be a student. I would watch all of them, and they were so much better than me at the time that I would just try to steal something from all of their games. You know, I was a two guard at the time, so that's kind of why I mentioned mostly all of those two guards, because I was just trying to steal something. None of them, I didn't play like none of them, but I took something from what I would all of them if I could. You know what I mean?
Nah, definitely, man. You got to be able to, you know, absorb different pieces of different people's games and mold it to your own game. You know, with that said, you were, you know, there were a lot of, you know, challenges that you faced, you know, at during this time. You know, at that height that you were, you know, you said you weren't blessed with the ideal height or whatever the case may be, but how do you think that you were able to be so successful? You know, granted your limited height or whatever the case may be. How do you think that you were able to be so successful at what you did?
Right. Well, you know, at 6'4" at the time, you know, I actually had good size. I actually had good height for a two guard at that time. 6'4" was adequate enough. When I refer to my body as not being blessed with a basketball body, I mean more of a classic basketball body with the length and the size. You know, I was a big, more like a football built kind of thing. I mean that. But as far as you know, as far as me competing and as far as me, you know, establishing myself, you know, it was a mental thing for me. You know, like I just turned, to me, I was a different person on the court. Like, I'm extremely friendly. I got friends off the court. I'm mad cool, but I ain't had no friends on the court. You know, when I stepped on the court,
Right, right,
you know, I did whatever I felt like I had to do to get an advantage or win the game, or I just go at whoever, you know what I'm saying, and whatever. So it's more like a mental thing to me. You know, I just ain't fear nothing, and I felt like I had a chip on my shoulder every time I stepped on the court, and I felt like I had something to prove, and I felt like I wanted to embarrass whoever was in front of me. So I had to keep that. I had to keep that mentally, you know, in my head, and you know, I had to make up stuff to get myself hyped or angry or motivated to play. Like if you was my
right.
man, no, you know, I ain't even had no problem with you. You know, I'm gonna make up something in my own head to come at you that night. You know, play, you know.
Nah, of course, man. You gotta keep that edge. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I had to keep the edge. I definitely had an edge. I think most people would say that. You know, I played hard. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't, you know, I was blessed physically because I was really strong, but I could handle the ball. I was fast. I could jump. So, you know, I used a lot of those things to my advantage, especially being at a young age, being a lot stronger than most people I played against.
Right, right. So you know, throughout your playing days at Hayes, you know, when it was all said and done, you average about 24, 25 points a game. You
Yeah.
know, in terms of like the rebounds and stuff like that, I'm not quite sure of, but 24,
Yeah.
25 points a game, and you actually made all New York State first team, and you were
Mhm.
a parade, parade All-American as well.
Yeah.
How did those
Yeah.
accomplishments, how did those accomplishments feel, you know, to be gaining those accolades and start being recognized for your talent?
Well, you know, like I said, I mean, like I said, I had that chip on my shoulder. You know, for me, I always felt like I should have got a lot of things a little earlier in my career for what I was doing. You know, so you know, everything has to boil down to a platform and timing. You know, when you talk
Right,
about basketball, talk about life in general. You know, I played really well. I thought I was one of the dominant players, even my sophomore year and my junior year. But if you look back at the cast that was in front of me, that was older, you know, it was just about timing. You know, I wasn't there
right,
yet with them. So when I did get my accolades and I was starting to be recognized, it took me, you know, all the way into my senior year almost to be recognized nationally around the country as being
right,
one of the best players in the country. You know, to me, it was just like a long time coming. Like I always felt that I was that anyway in my class. You know, I was known around New York City on the East Coast, but when I finally got my national recognition, you know, I felt like I deserved that. So, you know
right.
what I'm saying? I took that and ran with it. Don't get me wrong, I was happy and satisfied and, you know,
Yeah,
all that,
yeah,
but I just always wanted more, you know what I'm saying? I never felt satisfied. I always try to keep that chip on my shoulder. So, you know, I try to
yeah.
take that with me my playing days.
Like today, I find like a lot of players don't have that chip on their shoulder. You know what I'm saying? And a
Yeah.
lot of kids grow up, you know, without that edge, in terms of, you know, being friends with other players or whatever the case may be, maybe a little bit too friendly. But
That,
you know, speaking about that era, you know, that was something that was kind of the norm. You know, everybody, if
yeah.
you go around, everybody say the same thing. Like, we was
Yeah.
cool, but on the court, I wanted to take
Yeah,
his head off.
we was at each other. Yeah, no doubt. I mean, you know, you gotta contribute a lot of that actually to the timing. You know, it's you know, the internet has changed so much.
Yeah,
When
yeah,
it comes to basketball, you know, when we were playing, you know, I could read somebody's name in a magazine who lived across the country, but I still wouldn't know who that was necessarily. You know what I'm
right, right,
saying? These top players, they follow each other and they're friends on the internet, so they're able to develop a relationship, you know,
right,
outside
right,
of basketball before they even play against each other. You know what I'm saying? So I
right.
think that changes things. You know, it kind of creates a culture where kids are friends, and I don't have nothing wrong with that. That was our culture. That's what it was. You know, I could tell my son like, yo, you could be friends with them all day, but when it's on the court, you change that attitude. But I think that has a lot to do with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Do you feel like New York as a, you know, as a place,
Mm-hmm.
where place where you were from, developed that in you? or was that something that developed with your game over time, or was it just
Yeah.
because you lived in New York and you just had that
No,
chip?
I think it was a little bit both. You know what I mean? Obviously coming from where we came from, you had to have that kind of edge just to live. You know what I mean?
Right. Absolutely. Right. Probably getting a call or something right now, right? Yo. Joint froze up, but let's see if he come back in the into the crowd, and we're gonna request him right back. But yeah, today, Ramel Rock Lloyd. Here you go. Technology, bear with us. Technology.
Real quick. Here, use mine.
They say,
It's mine.
Yeah.
they say
We
Ramel
lost you.
Lloyd.
We lost you for a second.
Did you actually join?
Yeah, you on there.
You see me, Cal?
Yeah, I see you. You see me?
Yeah, I had to get. I was outside and my iPhone got too hot and it shut off.
Oh yeah, nah, I could dig it.
Yeah, so
Yeah, that's that Cali. That's the
yeah,
benefits of
no
being in
doubt.
Cali.
The sun shut me down. The iPhone's like, nah. I said, man, I had to shut
Hey,
me
I
down.
trade with you right now, man.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. But
Nah,
I don't even know what I was saying. But just go ahead and finish.
nah, it's cool. I mean, we just kicking it anyway, man. In terms of your you know, in terms of being in high school now, you're getting recognized in the city and nationally as well.
Right.
And when did the colleges start to take real notice in your game and start knocking on your door?
Well, I think some of the local schools got a hold of me early. Maybe my freshman year, going to my sophomore season. Like local Big East schools starting to look out St. John's, Providence, things of that nature, because they was right there. And I think we had so much talent in the area that I think they had to do a really good job of getting in contact with people early because there was been so much players, so much options. Kids from New York can go anywhere at the time.
Right.
So probably my sophomore year, I should say, and then going into my junior a little more than going into my senior year, I pretty much could have went anywhere I wanted to at that time in the country, to play.
Right. But in terms of like the early stages in the recruiting process, did you already have an idea? I want to go Big East. I want to go ACC.
Yeah. That's what happened. That's what happened with me. I actually, from day one, I knew I was going to the Big East. You know what I'm saying? And even with my recruiting, when people from outside the Big East, tried to contact me and recruit me, I just told them from day one, like, you don't even gotta waste your time. I'm going to a Big East. Big East was really like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Of course.
Yeah, you had Allen Iverson just left. You had Curry Kittles in there. You had Ray Allen. Felipe was in there. It was like, it was for a New York City kid. It was nowhere else to go play.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like it was no need to go anywhere else. So from day one, I knew I was going to Big East.
Now, was it specifically targeted towards Syracuse? Did you know that Syracuse?
No, not necessarily. I always was a fan of Syracuse as a kid growing up.
Right.
It wasn't necessarily that I was going to be locked in with them, but they were an early favorite for me. And just right before I went to school, right before I went to college, they were just in the championship that year, played against Kentucky. So they were at the highest pinnacle of college basketball at that time. And I really wanted to be a part of that going into my freshman year as well.
Right. So when it was time to pick a school, like what exactly were the kind of requirements, if you will, of the school that what were you looking for in a school that were going to retain your services?
Right. Well, obviously for me, the first thing was the Big East. We already mentioned that.
Right.
Second, the most important thing for me was more of a style of play kind of thing. I wanted to go somewhere where my style of play fit, and I had an opportunity to play as a freshman, just like every other kid, desires are. And
Right.
I thought Syracuse was big for me. I mean, the other two schools I was going to go to was
Yeah.
my final was Rutgers and UConn.
Okay.
And for Syracuse, I picked them because, two guards at the Cuse typically does very well there. They have a lot of freedom to kind of do what they do. It's not so much of a system and locked in at the time, and they were going to allow me to play free and do what I do. So that's kind of why I picked them, to carry a dome, and like I just said, they just came from the highest pinnacle of college basketball. It was a no-brainer for me. They were just as interested in me as I was in them,
Right.
and I
Right.
thought it would fit at the time,
Now you must have walked in that dome like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, dome crazy.
This
Dome
is
was
it.
crazy. Yeah, it
This
was
is it.
crazy, man. I mean, it's a sight to see, to play basketball in front of all those people. I guess we play like Georgetown or something. It's 35,000, 40,000 people almost in the arena watching basketball.
Right.
Yeah, it was definitely different. It was definitely unique. They had some guys from New York City in the past that have been very successful up there, and I just kind of wanted to follow in that pattern.
Right. So now, kind of, moving forward now, you pick Syracuse, obviously, and tell me about like the whole transition, from high school to college now. You're at a big school. Syracuse is a very big school. You're playing you're playing in the Big East now. What kind of transition did you go through? Did you go through something like homesickness and things of
No,
that nature? How'd
not
that go?
actually. I didn't. Actually, I didn't. It was still Syracuse. It wasn't too far from the city. My people was up there often, coming to see me.
Right.
My girl at the time was my wife now, was coming up there often. I had a lot of support around me all the time, so it wasn't so much a big deal as for me being homesick or anything like that. You
Right.
know, um, it was just an adjustment. Obviously, when you move up a level and doing something different, I was a young man on my own for the first time in my
Right.
life. And just making those adjustments, being responsible, taking care of things you need to take care of on your own. Nobody's bothering you to pressuring you to go to class. Nobody telling you
Yeah.
have to be on top of practice. All those things of that nature. It's an adjustment. And I was a really good student. I went to Cardinal Hayes, which is a very high academic school.
Right.
They were very strict. And they force you to be on top of your schoolwork and on top of the things you need to take care of. So
Right.
I've been structured like that my whole life because I went to Catholic school my whole life in Cardinal Hayes. So I'm graduating from Hayes and I go to the Q's and I'm like, nobody on my back about nothing, So that to me was the biggest adjustment was, actually having that kind of freedom and making sure that I'm still responsible enough. Remember, I'm 18 years old as a freshman in college, which is still fairly young, for a young man to have that kind of freedom to be in that kind of system with
Oh
big
yeah.
time
Yeah.
school. We was like the pros up there. There's no pro teams in Syracuse, so
Right.
Syracuse basketball is everything. So it's a lot to take in for a young man sometime, and that to me was my biggest adjustments.
Right. Right. Now, it's no secret that the Syracuse thing didn't work out for you. On that,
Right,
what I'm saying.
right.
Was there anything specific that you like to touch on that was the reason why things didn't work out, or was it
Mm-hmm.
more so just kind of things didn't work out?
Well, yeah, I'll touch on it a little bit. I mean, there's multiple reasons why things don't work out. You can never boil it down to one particular thing.
Right.
But, like I said, coming into college basketball, college game, being a young man, those things had a lot to do with it, just handling my responsibility. When college coaches are recruiting you, obviously they're going to tell you things, tell you what you need to do to get there, to get you there, So as you go on in that young man, you got to understand the responsibilities on your end. Like those college coaches, they're not your father, they're not your uncle, they're not your family. When they come in your couch, they try to tell you all of those kind of things that, hey, I'll take care of him like my son. It's not, you don't have to have that. You got to understand that it's a business, and you got to approach it that way. And you really don't need your college coach to be that person.
Right.
So at the end of the day, there were some things that I thought should have went my way. Some things playing wise and playing time and things of that nature that I thought should have went my way a little bit more, and they didn't. And then being a young man, a little bit immature, me reacting to them in the wrong way, not a positive way. So sometimes things happen to you, or you get tested, you get pushed, and you react the wrong way, and then it kind of develops a snowball effect where things just continuing to get worse and worse and worse because you're so busy trying to fight a situation where sometimes you just gotta look in the mirror and do some things that you can improve the situation for yourself and the time that you're at that in that space. So
Definitely.
yeah.
Now, but in terms of like, all right, so let's just backtrack just a one moment. Like in terms of playing for the legendary Jim Bohan, how did that feel? You know what I'm saying? Just kind of knowing that this guy is a Hall of Fame coach, and now you're under his under him in terms of being his players.
Well, I ain't really look at it like
Was it different when you got there? Like when
No. I mean, Boeheim is pretty much Boeheim. I'm not gonna say that he was a whole different person when he recruited me than he was when I was there. He is who he is.
Right.
I didn't look at it. Obviously he's a Hall of Fame coach and does some tremendous things in the game. But I didn't look at it like that. I just looked at him as my coach.
Right.
I was coming there to do my thing. I wasn't really coming there to be no friends with nobody or try to have a father figure in the coach or nothing like that. So I didn't really care either way. The fact of the matter was that he had control over my minutes and my playing time, and that's all I really cared about. So like I said, just kind of like a snowball effect. Sometimes college coaches, when they get young athletes who are at the top of their class at time and coming into schools, especially in those days. Those days were a little different. Even the most talented guys came into college situations, and they either played 2-3 years. The very best went to school 2-3 years sometimes.
Yeah.
So the maturation process in a college coach's eyes at that time was different. So his timeline for me to become who I was, who I needed to become at Syracuse was just a little longer than what my timeline was.
Right.
So right now in this day and age, it may be a little different. Kids are younger, kids are going to school, and they're getting a bigger role immediately, and the recruiting game is affected by it. Things were a little bit different when we played. So I needed. In his mind, I had a senior in front of me who was a senior who had just went to the championship the year before, and was a fairly decent player himself. And it was just a timing thing for me, and I wasn't trying to be sitting around waiting when I felt like I was better than whoever was in front of me.
No, that's valid. But in terms of, all right, so in terms of after your first year, things weren't going as planned for you, but were you kind of sold on, all right, I'm out of here after, also, man, the statute of limitations is up, man. So, you know what I'm saying? In terms of your assistant coach at the time, Wayne Morgan, he actually left, right? He was leaving.
He left before I got there.
Oh, he left before you got. Oh, okay. I thought you guys had established a relationship, and he may have swayed you to, hey, come over here, come to the best coach.
Absolutely. Well, that was part of it. That was part. He recruited me my whole time. Right. He recruited me since I was like a freshman in high school. From Syracuse. I've known him since I was 13, 14 years old. And he left before I actually got a chance to play with him.
Okay.
He got his job at Long Beach State, which was his first job. For me, I ended up going to Long Beach State. I actually committed and was ready to sign and seal to go to Louisville when I transferred from Syracuse. And then Louisville, I believe, got on probation at the time, and they were still trying to figure out were they going to be able to go to NCAA, were they going to have TV games taken away, or whatever NCAA will give to them as far as a punishment. So I said, well, that's the next best choice for me was to go and play with somebody that I already knew. And that was the safest spot for me was to go. Well, that's in terms of Syracuse, like getting to a point where I'm like, yo, it's a wrap. I'm not coming back. Or like, I didn't feel that way because I love the school. You know what I'm saying? I love where I was at. I love the school. I love the proximity, the location it was in terms of where I was from and so on and so forth. The honest truth about it was that, I felt a little more embarrassed to go back to Syracuse. And I felt like I let, the city down. I let myself down, let my family down. So at that young age, with things going so array during that time, I wasn't able to handle it the right way. So I
Right.
felt like I needed to get out of Dodge as soon as possible because I just felt more embarrassed to go back to, where I was from, having a
feel like,
disappointment. You know what I'm saying?
I feel like, man, that speaks to your character as well.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's not a situation like almost like these kids nowadays. They want to transfer just because, you know what I'm saying, and have no remorse over it, no nothing.
Yeah,
And
it's part of the
right, absolutely. So it's like, you know what I'm saying, you at least you felt like, yo, I didn't give that city what, you know what I'm saying, what they thought they was going to get, and feeling bad in the interim was the, it was the result of that. But
absolutely.
in terms of the transfer. Oh, shout out to everybody, man, on the check-in.
Yeah.
My
Now
man,
tell me, Kyle, I'm on my son's thing. Is that affecting what we're doing? Because
nah, not at all.
on my line. You good? Okay.
Nah, we straight.
So shout out to everybody checking in, man. Much love.
Y'all got the same name, man, so it's all good.
I bet.
Shout out to my guy Lorenzo, man, on the check-in, man. He went to Hayes as well. There's a bunch of people on the check-in, man. You know what I'm saying?
No doubt.
Maybe too many to name at this time, but so Rock, you went from, I think, maybe about 4.6 points a game at Syracuse that first year. That second year at Long Beach, you went to maybe 18, 19 points a game. Was it more so confidence or playing time, or what was it that really made you turn that corner?
Well, it was definitely the playing time. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, if I would have got that kind of playing time at Syracuse, it would have had the same results. To be honest. Especially going into that sophomore year. I also got in better condition. My freshman year at Syracuse, I never was in the type of condition that I needed to be in to really succeed at that level the way I needed to. So it was just about playing time and opportunity, man, which a lot of this boils down to anyway. At that level, there's a lot of talented guys. It's just a matter of if your coach going to let you do what you do, and you're going to have the opportunity to show what you can do. So that's kind of what it was more for me when I came out to the West Coast. And obviously the Big West is not the Big East, but still in all, there's some things that's actually more difficult about playing in a smaller conference than playing in a bigger conference, and vice versa, of course.
Right. Now, was it a point where you was like, listen, nobody could do nothing with me out here? Like, it was, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I felt like that my whole life, though. To be honest, I really felt like that my whole life. I never felt like nobody could guard me, and if they could guard me, I'm gonna psych myself up to say they can't guard me anyway. Basketball is more about confidence and how you coming. So if you're coming on the court with already a confidence of being nervous or any kind of weakness, especially coming from where we come from, it's over for you. You know what I'm saying? So. But yeah, when I got to Long Beach State, when I got a chance to play, I definitely felt like, I was the big fish.
There was food out there.
It was everywhere. So, Long Beach State at the time was a good option. My man, Shea Cotton, his brother, James Cotton, Shea was supposed to come there with me. James Cotton was there. He had just got drafted right before I got there. The NBA Summer League at the time was being held at Long Beach State. So there was a bunch of NBA guys around all the time, and the school was kind of synonymous with being part of that league. And, I thought it would give me a really good opportunity to show myself here. It's a lot of agents, a lot of scouts. They all live out here in California, the West Coast. So that was part of the decision for me going in. I wanted to make sure that I had my fair chance of getting to my, making my dream.
Right. Shout out to Carl Krauser, too, man.
Legend.
New York City legend as well.
Yes, sir. I see you, Carl.
So was there any kind of like adjustment period for for going out to California now? You're on the West Coast, probably a different style of play.
Definitely.
What was that like?
Coming to the West, actually when I came to Long Beach State, it was my first time ever in California, to be honest with you. Like I said, I was just I picked the furthest place away from New York that I could get to, and that summer I actually just came out there. I was like, I didn't even want to go home that summer before I transferred. I actually came home and I bounced. I went right out to Cali, and it was more of a new beginning for me. As a fresh start. I went through a lot of ups and downs emotionally my freshman year.
Right.
I just felt like I wanted to reinvent myself, find myself, get myself in the best shape that I can, lock down, be in the gym, work on my diet, work on my conditioning, work on everything that I needed to work on, which was weaknesses for me. So California was actually a great adjustment for me. It might not, at the time looking back, it may not have been the absolute best decision for me career-wise, but it was a great life decision for me. I believe God put me out here for a reason. I stayed out here. I'm going to raise my family out here.
Right.
I feel it's just, it's a place where I was supposed to be outside of basketball.
Nah, that's tough, man. You know what I'm saying? California, see how sunny it is back there, man? And you can't beat that, man.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah.
Yo, so I mean, in terms of you're doing well you did well at Long Beach State. Now you spoke about a little bit about the like the NBA scouts and the agents.
Yeah.
Shout out to Rich Parker too, man, on the check-in.
So
Man.
Rich was another dude who was just,
Yeah.
I think, maybe 2 years ahead of me that I really looked up to and, watching him play. Shout out Rich, man. Rich was a real killer. And a New York City guard with a straight jumper. So, I was kind of, I was a shooter too, so I always kind of looked at that. They always say we can't shoot, but we got some real shooters out there. Shout out Rich.
Everybody on the check-in, make sure y'all tune in on Wednesday. We got Rich Parker as well. We're gonna be kicking it with him and seeing what's good. But so now after your tenure at Long Beach State, were there any kind of NBA scout, any NBA talk, you know what I'm saying, in terms of the next your next phase?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, all throughout my senior year and my junior year and my whole time at Long Beach State, there was countless NBA scouts and teams coming to practices, coming to games, scouting me. I was a guy that was going to be a second round to not drafted guy, just all depending on, what was going on. So this was another big low point in my career, in my life. So I had an agent at the time, pretty high-powered agent. During the draft, the teams usually are in constant communication with agents, and most of the time you know when you're going to get drafted next and so on and so forth. So I'm talking to my agent back and forth throughout the draft, and maybe 2 or 3 times, he said that, hey, this team's going to draft you next, this team's going to draft you next. And then obviously I never heard my name called. The 60th pick went through, or whatever pick it was at the time. And, I didn't get my name called. I think I went in the bathroom. I think I cried for like an hour in the bathroom by myself.
Of course.
So, just one of those things. I didn't get drafted. I went to a lot of NBA different camps. I got invited to camps. I went through a whole bunch of NBA workouts my senior year and things of that nature. And, I got a little sniff of it. And then, I already at the time started my family. I had my kids, I had my wife. I had a chance to try out for some teams, and I just decided to go overseas. I started my career, started making money, take care of my family.
Right. So, I mean, before the overseas thing, you played for the Fayetteville Patriots, I believe.
Quick stop. Yeah, quick stop there.
That was the original deal.
Huh?
How was that experience for you in terms of, like you said, it was a quick stop?
Give me the charger. That one was tough. At the time, Tiny Archibald was the coach for that team. And Tiny brought me in, he gave me a chance. And as soon as I got there, I think I played 1 game with Tiny, and then the next day he got fired.
Wow.
So they let Tiny go, and now I'm down there. They bring in a new coach. I believe it was Capel at the time. Jeff Capel's dad.
Jeff Capel.
Yeah. So they brought in Capel. And, it's just part of the business. I wasn't one of his guys. He brought in a couple, I played a couple games, put me on the bench. He didn't know me from anywhere. And he brought in a couple of his guys, and I was released, just part of the business.
Right, yeah. Definitely. So now after that, right, you started exploring other options in terms of the overseas market. How was your introduction to playing overseas, and were you excited to be playing overseas, be getting an opportunity overseas, and where was your first stop?
Yeah, that was a trying time for me, because I honestly felt that I deserved a shot to play in the league. Um, I didn't get a job right away. I sat for a little while. I was supposed to have some really good jobs, and it just didn't go through. So it was tough. Like I
Right,
was
right.
constantly on not playing anymore. I just wasn't even gonna play no more. But I finally got my first job. Guy in New York, Jose Camacho. He was an agent in Spanish countries, and he gave me my first shot.
Mm.
He sent me out to DR. I was out in Dominican Republic on my first overseas gig, and I didn't make a lot of money or anything. It was my first time, but I loved it. DR ended up being like my second home. I was back and forth in that country much, um, and the basketball was fun. It just allowed me to be me and do what I do. A lot of times when you go to a lot of Latin countries, they just want you to go and get buckets, and that's just what I did. So
He said,
yeah,
that's
it
what
was
I
easy.
do.
Yeah, that's what I do. So it was easy for me. It was a good experience. And especially now when I look back at it, during the time I don't take any, you don't take those things serious. You're just trying to move to the next one, get
Right.
more money, get whatever. But now that I look back at it, I was truly blessed to have any opportunity to play basketball professionally, be able to see the world and actually get paid for it.
No,
So
yeah, that's a plus. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot. That's the goal. People,
yeah,
and that's a professional basketball player. At the end of the day,
yeah,
you also played in Venezuela and in the Philippines. Can you touch on
yeah,
a little bit about those two places?
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
let me know which one was your favorite out of all of your international stops, and why.
So I played in Venezuela, which was another Latin country. I love playing out there. The fans in these countries are so passionate about the game, passionate about their cities. The arenas are packed. They have their stars there. So it's almost like you playing in the league in their country. You know what I'm
Right,
saying?
right. Yeah, it's the league,
Western,
pretty much.
yeah, it's their professional league. So
Right. So they
you're
going excited. They
coming.
they they excited. They going crazy. They probably
They
painting
just
their
bro.
faces and all that, right?
No doubt. They got the bands in there. They doing their thing. So
Yeah, yeah.
so that was Venezuela was good. Philippines, same thing. People were super, passionate about their game and the sport, and they loved it. They loved the game. I think Philippines was probably my favorite place. Just probably more because it was very similar to being home in the States. People spoke English. They had American restaurants. And
Mm,
I was able to move. The dollar was very very high in terms of value to their money. So if you making 12, $15,000 a month, you doing you living like you rich over there because the
right,
dollars is
right.
superior to them. So yeah, I loved all the experiences I had. I had some bad ones, I had some good ones, but overall, like I said, it was just great and a positive experience just to play ball. Period.
Now, Rock, let me ask you this: in terms of your playing overseas, right? What's something that the average fan or the average guy, on
Mhm.
the outside looking in, won't know that everybody else that's in it
Yeah.
is gonna know?
Well,
Like some of the misconceptions that
yeah.
people have.
No, there's a lot of them, to be honest with you. But I'll start with the main two that I think is that most people think that it's extremely easy to get over there and play and do your thing, right? Which is not always the case, obviously.
Right.
Uh, Second, and it has more to do with just your talent. There's a whole bunch of other different variables that equivalent to you getting over there and playing, being successful, being in the right place, so on and so forth. Another thing is that people have a misconception that everybody overseas is making a lot of money doing well playing basketball. There's
Right,
a
right.
there's plenty of leagues and countries around the world where you could be in Division F, damn near, and making less than people here making it minimum wage. Some people actually even go play for room and board just to say they're playing overseas, but it's not necessarily their pro leagues. So
Damn, not even no meals, Rock. Man, you just said
not
room
even the
and
middle.
board.
They,
They
they
got to
may
buy their own meal.
now they may be able to go to the cafeteria of the team and get something to eat and all that, but a lot of people go over there, man, just to say they did it. And I'm not knocking those people because it's a dream of people to play basketball and everything and go overseas. So I can't knock them. But some of those positions are not even really jobs. It's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
being over here playing in the rec league sometimes. But shout
Carl
out to
Krauser said, Carl
get
Krauser said,
their
dudes be
drink.
gassing it.
Be gassing it a lot. Yeah, be gassing it. It ain't, you know, they do be gassing it. And that's okay. I mean, it is what it is. But you know, playing at the top divisions in different countries, you know, it's a blessing. Sometimes it's not always the easiest thing to do because, like I said, the Latin countries, every part of the world has different expectations from you as an American player. So, like the Latin places, you know, they want you to come and score and get buckets. They don't care how many times you shoot; they just want you to get buckets. You know, when I played in France, you know, it was a different style, different kind of game. I kind of played damn near like point guard, you know, where they didn't really want me to shoot that much. You know, I was breaking down, getting in the paint, and I'm kicking it out to 11, shooting threes. You know what I'm saying? And slow. Every time we came down court, we had to run a play. Set it up, run something. So, you know, and then also you got to put into the factor of when you're playing in Europe and playing in bigger countries, you probably only play on the weekends. You probably play one game a weekend. So basically you out there practicing maybe 2-3 times a day, you know, almost worse than college. And, you know, at that point, you're 25, 26, 27. You're getting up there on your basketball knowledge, and you're practicing crazy like you're in college, you know, even worse. And, you know, pro mentality here in the States, you know, guys don't practice like that. Don't be in you play more games than you actually do in Europe. So it's like once a week, you're just over there living. And sometimes it could get tough. It ain't as glorified and glamorous as people think all the time.
Yeah. So tell me this: what was the first time that you went out, you know, in your international, you know, your professional career, that you went somewhere and somebody cut your ass, and you like, oh my god, you don't tell me nobody ever cut your ass.
Yeah. Nah. Everybody, at that level, everybody get it. I could say the one that stands out the most for me is I probably had a game one time in Venezuela. In Venezuela, you know, I used to score a lot too. Probably was always one of the top scorers in the country. And my man too. It's my man did me dirty too. It's Fred Vincent. Yeah, you know, I don't know. Fred Vincent is a coach now for the Pelicans.
Fred Vincent?
Freddie Vincent, yeah. Freddie Vincent. He played in the league for a minute too. Played with the Clippers.
Right.
I mean, he got a burner. His jumper was crazy. I think he lit me up for like 55 in Venezuela. Right. Jumpers, shooting everything, everywhere. He ain't missed nothing. You know, I had 32 though. I'm not going. You know, I ain't do nothing. But you know, I got the W too.
What he got, right?
Yeah, I got mine too, but no, that night though, man,
it was his night.
I couldn't do nothing with him. He was just hitting stuff everywhere. So that was one that sticks out the most. For the most part, you know, my battles is, you know, either I won or it was pretty even. I ain't lose too many battles like that.
Right. Now let me ask you this though, like, cause on the you know, in the off season, a lot of people usually, you know, go back home. At this time, it was California was your full-time home.
Yeah. I've never lived in New York again since I left.
Right. Since you left, you haven't lived in New York.
I've actually lived in California longer than I lived in New York.
In the off season, were you going home and playing like in the Drew League or in any of the other leagues out there just to, you know, keep your blade sharp?
Yeah. I was playing at the time. I was playing in Real Run. Shout out my man D'Anthony. Real Run was probably what people know Drew League to be now, where we had all those NBA guys and the time. We had just missed the social media phase, so it wasn't out there like that. But it was equivalent to what the Drew League is now. It was called a Real Run. I did play in the Drew League for a little bit too, but that was a little bit at the latter part of my career when I did that. So, but I was home often. You know, at the time, like I said, I had my family. I had my wife at home. She couldn't necessarily travel at the time. So I opted to play in a lot of Latin American countries because they have a lot of short event tournaments where you play 3-4 months, then you come home and back and forth. So like I turned down a lot of deals throughout my career to play in Europe, which is typically a 9-month season, just so I could be here with my family.
That's a long time.
Kids, so. You know, if my wife could have traveled with me and I could have brought my kids, you know, my career probably could have went a little differently. But that's why I did so much back and forth to these Latin countries, just so I could be home as much as possible to see my kids and my wife.
No, everything happened for a reason, man, and everything makes, you know, builds you up to be the person you are today. So you know, with that said, I don't think you have any regrets and whatnot in terms of your career.
Yeah.
You know, you are a legend, a legendary figure.
I appreciate
And you know what I'm saying? And we hold, especially in New York City, we hold you to that. So we hold you to that high standard. Tell me about H2O basketball. Is that something you still got going on?
Yeah. Well, H2O was, when I would come home, I started training and, started coaching and mentoring kids. So it was just kind of something I started. I don't necessarily call it H2O anymore, but I still do train. Obviously, I coach in high school, coach AAU, started with coaching my son, and so on and so forth. So,
right.
Yeah, I still do it, but it's just not called H2O anymore.
Okay. So now let's talk about Junior. You know what I'm saying? Ramel Lloyd Jr. Does he also go by Rock, or does he?
Nah,
he got his own?
he doesn't. My generation people would call him Rock or
Little Rock or something like that.
But that's not what he prefers to be called.
Yeah.
We call him Mel. I call him Mel. I call him Mel.
Okay. Now he's is he a junior? He's
going to be a junior next year. He's a sophomore.
Okay, so he's going to be a junior next year, and already he's been getting a lot of attention from a lot of college coaches.
Yeah.
Now at your age, at his age now, is he better than what you were at your age, at that same age?
Yeah. No, he's definitely better than I was at that age. I think that in general, a lot of these kids, including my son, obviously, the things that they get, the things that they learn, the attention to details that they get at such a young age prompts them to be more skilled players than we were. Because some of the things that I've taught my son, obviously, since he's been, 8, 9, 10 years old, some of these things I didn't learn until I was in college.
Right.
So they have the availability to learn these things at a young age. I think we got a little bit more over on like the things we talked about earlier, as far as having those chips on our shoulder, going out, taking with. But as far as skill and those kind of things, he's way ahead of where I was at that age.
Right. I think that a lot of players from that golden era, or that golden age that we're talking about, had that chip, because everybody's living situation wasn't the best. You know what I'm saying? So even myself, like, you know what I'm saying, like, it was like I went to a prep school for some of the same reasons that you said. Like I was like, I just want to go. You know what I'm saying? I just want to go. You know what I'm saying? Let me go away from home, away from the distractions, away from, you know what I'm saying, a lot of things that were in the city. So I definitely know what you're talking about. But that chip that you mentioned, that we've mentioned, that we've talked about a couple times, do you feel like your son has this chip, or is this something that's kind of in him and he hasn't unlocked that chip yet? Or what do you feel about that?
Well, earlier in his career, I mean, he's still very young, obviously, but earlier in his career, our jobs, you got to put this thing in perspective, because our jobs as parents is to put our kids in a situation where they are raised better than us, and they have better things than we have. They have a better living environment than we have.
Right.
And if we're going to do our job as parents and provide that for them, then of course they're not going to have the same attitude or chip or whatever we may call it towards playing basketball, sports, life, or anything, because they're not raised the way we were raised. You know, so we have to take that in consideration. But my son is still my son. My blood is still his blood. So things that has happened to him, and things as he's become more mature, he understands what that is and what that means.
Right.
And as of late, with him getting a little older, he's definitely turning. I can see him turning into a mini me right before my eyes. You know what I'm saying? So the circumstances of why we have those chips are different.
Right.
But he is definitely starting to develop that same mentality that I had as a killer playing basketball.
Now with like I said, a lot of coaches, a lot of college coaches, high majors, are have taken notice. And in terms of what's some of the advice that you give him regarding the whole process? You know what I'm saying? Like, is it more so like you do your thing, and you know you're on your own type of situation to go through it? What kind of advice do you give them?
No, we do everything as a team here, man. We team Lloyd. You know, obviously we're gonna try to advise him to the best of our ability. But you know, he's a very mature young man. You know, I think we did a good job of preparing him for this time and these moments. He's able to think and, you know, make sound decisions based on his career and what's going on with him and what he wants to do and what he doesn't want to do. So, yeah, I'll allow him to lead the way because he's becoming a young man. That's going to be important for him throughout his growth and development as a player and a man. And I'm just here, you know, in the background in case he needs to lean on me for something or ask, you know, questions or feel a certain way about something. But I'm here for support. You know, we figure a lot of things out together, but I think he's doing a good job with handling the attention, handling all the things that's coming his way. He was prepared for this.
Right, definitely, man. That's what's up, man. And is he leaning towards any particular schools, or he's just entertaining them all?
No, at this point, it's so early in the process that, you know, we're entertaining whoever's interested in us. We're interested in them at this point.
Right.
We got time to figure out, you know, where he wants to go. I mean, he still has a lot of time to develop as a player and a person. So, you know, obviously a couple of years away, we don't know where he'll be, where those schools will be, but we're excited that we're just getting, you know, these opportunities in this early process of his recruitment.
No, definitely, y'all did a definite good job with him, and you know, we looking forward to seeing, you know, his game develop and you know, more schools take notice. And you know, he'll have the pick of the litter wherever he wants to go. But I got a real quick question. You could just answer in one question. I mean, in one word: LeBron or Mike?
That's, you know, my son just got it crazy because, you know, his era is LeBron, but you know I'm gonna go with Mike all day.
Riverside or Chose?
Well, you know I gotta go with Gauchos. I mean, I played Gauchos my whole life. But shout out to Riverside, man. You can't go wrong either way. There was some killers there. A lot of my boys played. I mean, it was you couldn't make a wrong choice. But obviously, I'm gonna take Gauchos because I'm a Gaucho.
Of course, man. And if the season ended today, if the NBA season ended today, who do you think would be taking that chip?
Man, I don't know. That's a tough one. You know, I'm out here in LA, so I'm kind of brainstorming by seeing the Lakers all the time.
Yeah.
I think they had a good chance of winning this year, though. I really do. Just kind of exposed to them more than any other team. Because I really don't have an NBA team. I really don't care, to be honest.
Right.
You know, I'm just a fan of the game. So
you get to watch some games like, you know, every day.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like if you're in New York, you got MSG, you just see the Knicks. Right. The Lakers all the time. So
sitting there watching the Knicks.
I mean, you still watch them though. You still watch them regardless of what the situation is. You know?
Word. I'm actually out near the Philadelphia area, so we get the Sixers out here. But you know, Sixers and you know what I'm saying, those ain't always good games. But I guess, man.
I mean, hoop is hoop. Love it all. I just watch for the entertainment of it. I love to watch the young guys coming in for their thing. So I'm not really a particular fan of any team. I just, you know, enjoy the game.
Who's your and my last question for you, man? Who's your rookie of the year if the season ended today?
Josh. I gotta go with Josh. Just for the simple fact that he's been doing it longer. You know, Zion was hurt for a long period of time. So I think it's only fair to go with Josh. It's not like he didn't work. You know?
I agree, brother. I agree. Yo, Ramel, Lloyd, man. I appreciate you. Thank you for coming on the show, on the podcast, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, no doubt.
Like I said before, man, we definitely hold you to that legendary status.
Yo, appreciate that.
You know what I'm saying? We also wish you and your family, your son, the best of luck in his development, and you know, with you and the rest of your family. You know, just hope that everybody stays safe and stays healthy. But again, we appreciate you for taking the time out of your schedule and kicking it with me, man.
Yeah,
And
anytime.
yeah, man, I appreciate it, man. I'm gonna be
Anytime,
reaching
man.
out.
Yep,
I'll be
anytime.
reaching out, boss.
I'm gonna check in with y'all. I'm gonna check in with you Wednesday when my man Rich Parker come on. So I'm
Yeah.
gonna be on the other side listening. So y'all, everybody stay safe. Shout out NYC.
Nah, definitely.